What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. We got another OTA patch today, so let's go ahead and get into it. But first thing, real quick, I want to say is before we look at the card changes, these changes were locked in a week ago, so just keep that in mind, right? This was locked in before High Evolutionary was released, and the meta is still kind of up in the air as High Evolutionary has been kind of changing things up a little bit. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the first card change here is Black Bolt. Black Bolt is keeping his same ability, but he's going from a 5'8" to a 5'7", and yeah, this is pretty interesting because of this sentence right here. This one wasn't on any of our bingo cards to start the year, but here we are. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. Black Bolt is getting a nerf, right? I mean, albeit a very small nerf. Black Bolt Stature has been one of the best performing decks. It's actually been the best performing deck for a couple of weeks now, and I don't think it's felt as oppressive as, let's say, like the old Thanos or the old Shuri, but it definitely was a very strong deck that really didn't have a lot of bad matchups to it, and there wasn't a lot of counters to the deck either. It was just a good mid-range, all-around good statted deck. And all of the cards were below 9 power, so you couldn't really destroy any of the cards with Shang-Chi either. So it was just a really overall good deck, and Black Bolt being a 5'8" is very powerful. Being a 5'7" is still good. I just kind of feel like this change is kind of too late, but like I said, these changes were locked in a week ago, so I don't know. We have kind of seen the Black Bolt Stature deck fall off a little bit, but that could be that people are just experimenting with new cards, and then High Evolutionary just came out, so more people are playing High Evolutionary. I haven't really seen a lot of people playing Black Bolt Stature lately, so I think it's kind of too late for this. I don't know, but it is an over-the-air change. It's just 1 power. It's not that big of a difference, but it was the top deck for a while, so I think it is warranted to hit that deck somewhere. It just kind of sucks that Black Bolt got the hit, because I feel like Black Bolt was just kind of memed on for a long time as being like one of the worst cards, and then he was suddenly in the best deck, and then now he kind of, I think he just kind of got caught in the crossfire a little bit. But yeah, I guess it's kind of too late, but whatever. It is what it is. Moving on, Stature is also getting a nerf. Same ability, but going from a 5'7" to a 5'6". I think this is fair, actually. I think Stature is actually a really good card because it's pretty easy to fulfill Stature's condition with either Black Bolt or Moon Knight. Or if your opponent is playing a discard deck, she's just automatically going to cost 1 pretty much. Or sometimes you might get a location like a Sokovia, which will discard a card, and that'll activate Stature as well. And a 1/7 is no joke, man. That is a lot of power for 1 energy. So a 5/6 costs 1 if your opponent discarded a card from their hand. I think that's, again, I think it's fair, but again, I think it's kind of too late. I guess that's kind of the issue with locking these changes in like a week in advance. Like, Marvel Snap changes like so much, right? Like, we get new cards every week. We get basically new balance patches every week, a big balance patch. Then we have these over-the-air patches. So the game is constantly evolving. And while, again, I do kind of feel like, you know, a small nerf was warranted since it was the top performing deck, at the same time, I do feel like it is kind of late. But again, I mean, if they do feel like these nerfs, you know, maybe were a little bit too harsh, then they can always go back and change them in a future patch. But for now, I think it's okay. I mean, 1 power isn't going to absolutely kill the deck. It's just going to make it a little bit more fair, which, you know, I'm fine with. And then we got 2 buffs coming in after 2 nerfs here. We got Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Same ability. Again, there's not gonna be any ability changes with these OTA patches, just number changes. So Negasonic Teenage Warhead going from a 3/4 to a 3/5. Now, I don't have too much to say about this card, as I actually don't own this card myself. I think it is a fun card to play with. I think it fits in like control style decks, things with like Storm, Professor X, Spider-Man, Daredevil. Or, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Surfer, and this is a 3-cost card, so I think this could fit into Surfer as well. A 3/5 puts it in line with Polaris, which is a card I frequently play in my Surfer decks. So I think this could be a really cool addition to Silver Surfer decks. Like, yeah, I mean, usually you want to play it for its ability, right? After any card is played here, destroy this card and that card. So usually you want to be playing it like when you have priority and your opponent's going to drop like a big body on the board. Let's say, right now with High Evolutionary, there's a lot of Abomination and Hulks and She-Hulks running about. Maybe this would be a good card to run to counter those big cards like Hulk. But even if you don't pop off the ability, a 3/5 is just a good stat line to throw in a Silver Surfer deck. So if you buff it with the Silver Surfer, it's going to go to a 3/7, which is really really nice. So not bad. I'm always a fan of buffing cards that don't really see a lot of play, and I feel like this is a card that didn't see too much play. So I'm happy with this one. Hopefully I can unlock this card soon and try some Silver Surfer decks with it. And then last but not least, we got Invisible Woman. Again, same ability, but going from a 2/2 to a 2/3. Now, Invisible Woman is kind of a weird one for me because I like playing ongoing decks. And what I mean by that is I like playing like the Spectrum ongoing decks, right? Things like Ant-Man, Armor, Mr. Fantastic, Orca, Spectrum, things like that. But I would never play Invisible Woman. I don't know, she felt kind of awkward with me. Like, she definitely does have some purpose in some decks, Cerebro 2 being the main deck, but she would also be in some Patriot decks. Now, they did mention Cerebro 2 in here, so I'm going to read this real quick. They said, "We did consider the potential impact to Cerebro 2 specifically, but we've given that deck a couple of recent buffs and expect it may benefit from more down the line. Plus, there's always Cerebro 3. So overall, I think this is a good change. Sorry to all the Cerebro 2 players out there. This is unfortunately like an indirect nerf to Cerebro 2 decks. But on the bright side, I guess it's a buff to Cerebro 3 decks, right? So I guess there is a bright side to that. And I think maybe she could see some more play in ongoing decks, because when I want to make an ongoing deck, I look at all the ongoing cards, and Invisible Woman I would just kind of shrug off because I'm like 2/3, or well, her old stat line 2/2. I'd be like, I could play Armor, I could play Colossus. Like, I'd be picking Colossus over Invisible Woman, but at this point, maybe I'll pick Invisible Woman over Colossus. There's also Mojo, which, would see some play, not really. And then there's also Lizard, which got nerfed, and Lizard is kind of gone now, to be honest. He's really only like in Sarah decks now. But overall, I think this is a good thing. RIP Cerebro 2. But bless Cerebro 3, I suppose. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not a Cerebro player myself, but so if you are a Cerebro gamer, let me know what you think about this Invisible Woman change. Are you sad that you're not going to be able to use her in Cerebro 2, or are you happy you're going to be able to use her in Cerebro 3? Or is it a bit of both? Let me know what you're feeling. And that's it for the card changes, but we do have location changes here. So I'm going to go ahead and read this off real quick. After some internal discussion of our goals for the location pool, we've decided to continue adjusting some of our most restrictive locations. So these are locations that are like, say, you can't play X cards here because of X reasons. And I think there definitely has been an uproar in the community that there have been more and more of these locations. Like lately we got Milano, we got the Sandbar, which, spoiler real quick, those are locations that are getting changes here. Plunder Castle, which is the ones that say only 6-cost cards can be played here. Milano, you can only play cards on turn 5 on here. And then Sandbar, cards with abilities cannot be played here. So they say, rather than further reducing the frequency with which these locations appear, we've decided to thin the ranks. As of today, we've temporarily removed the following 3 locations from the game. I like this. I think this is great. It can be really frustrating to get multiple of these locations in one games, like one of these locations along with something like Morag or Sanctum Sanctorum. So it can be very frustrating when literally all you want to do is play the game, but the locations are like, nope, you can't play cards here. So I think this is a good change, a good step in the right direction. They say we're taking them back to redesign, where we'll be finding brand new effects to implement for each one. Once those are play tested and approved, we'll reintroduce them to the game. We're not 100% sure what that will look like yet, but you can expect to see them return in the next few months. So good change. Hopefully they can come up with something a little bit better, because yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of all the locations that say you can't play cards here, basically. And then the last thing is the future of OTA changes. I'm not going to read off this entire paragraph here, but basically what they're saying is they are not going to have OTA patches every week, and I'm totally fine with that, because to me that was probably pretty stressful on the team, and I think they do mention it here somewhere that it was a little stressful to try and reach those deadlines every week. And yeah, patches every week is kind of unheard of in card games, right? Like it was honestly pretty incredible that they were able to put out an OTA or a full balance patch every week. So I'm fine with them taking a week off every now and then, letting the meta breathe a little bit and let us actually mess around with some decks before, the next patch comes out. So what it's going to look like is going to be patch week, which is usually Tuesday. That's going to be the full-blown patch. And then OTA week is going to happen on Thursday, like today. And then there's going to be an off week. And then there's going to be another OTA week on Thursday. And then another patch week. Well, they say usually Tuesday, right? Some things get delayed, high evo and whatnot. But, I digress. Anyways, that's how it's going to look like. Patch week, OTA week, off week, OTA week, patch week, so on and so forth. And the next patch will be on June 8th. So overall, pretty good changes. I like the location changes. I'm fine with them taking a week off, to be honest. I'm sure it was, it was a lot on the team to be putting stuff out every week. Invisible Woman, I'm happy as an ongoing Spectrum kind of player, but I feel for my Cerebro 2 gamers. Teenage Warhead, I think, is interesting. Not going to be like, oh man, this card is amazing or anything like that, but I think it is a spicy card to experiment with. And then Stature and Black Bolt to get a small little nerf here. I don't think that's going to completely kill the deck. I think it's still going to be a really strong deck. But again, the metagame is still developing and still kind of up in the air with the addition of High Evolutionary. So that's going to be it for today. I'm actually going to be releasing a video later, probably today, on a High Evolutionary deck that has been killing it for me at Infinite Rank. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate y'all, and see you in the next one. Later.